This is 10 ways to outsmart any man who's playing with your heart. But I advise you to turn this video off if you have a weak stomach. And let's be honest, in today's day and age, the dating scene is interesting. And if you don't date with the strategy well, then you're gonna be the one constantly getting played. So this list of 10 ways is gonna cover everything you need to be aware of. But if you miss or skip any of these 10 ways, I promise you that will be the exact way the men will take advantage of you. Let's begin. You must understand how to define your relationship and also receive a definition of your relationship from the very beginning of the relationship. Let me tell you an interesting trick that the men will play on you, okay? When you meet a guy and you start hanging out with him, you start dating him, and you start doing things like going over to his place, maybe you guys go out to party together, go out to the club together. What guys will do is they'll attempt to leave you in the dark about what the intention is or the direction is supposed to be of this relationship. Let me explain a little bit further. When you meet someone initially, what should be happening when you meet a guy is he at least defines for you, even if we're not necessarily married right now or having children right now, my intention with you and in this relationship is that we are getting to know each other to see if we are compatible to eventually go to this road here, which is a relationship. That's what should be happening. Now, let me tell you what some of these guys will do to trick you. From the very beginning, see, some of these guys are smart and they're forward thinking. They tell you things like, well, look, to be honest with you, I'm in a weird place in my life. I have work going on, I have this going on, I have family going on, my toes, my fingernails aren't cut. They'll give you all these excuses to basically boil it down to, I can't really define the relationship for you. I also can't define for you exactly what direction I want to take the relationship in because my life is in disarray, right? They'll usually blame it on something else. Here's where the problem lies. You then say okay to that. You're like, all right, sure, I understand you're going through things that are outside of your control because they make it very sad. Then when you say okay to that, you give them an automatic out. And this is how they're outsmarting you. Because when you give them that automatic out, what happens is when you go 3 months down the line, and some of the things that you would have expected, like maybe going out on real actual dates instead of just hanging out at his house, some of the things that you would have expected if you were going into the direction of being in a relationship are not present. Then you sit down with him and you tell him, or you text him, you're like, hey, I'm frustrated because I wanted A, B, and C as it relates to being in a romantic relationship, but I'm not seeing those things. Then he circles back and says, yeah, you're not seeing those things because I never defined our relationship or what we're doing here as that. You see how that doesn't allow you to hold him accountable. It also doesn't allow you to do the most important thing, which is to understand, are we moving in the right direction? Because without any understanding of where you're supposed to be going, you can't even properly gauge, am I on the right track, moving towards this goal, or am I moving over here, right? Am I making a detour away from where I'm supposed to be going and going in this friends with benefits direction? Am I taking a detour from where I was supposed to be going and now we're doing this thing where we're both kind of single, but we're also both kind of dating? As soon as you can't understand if you're moving in a positive direction, what can you not do? You can't understand if the relationship is successful or not. And then you end up wasting a lot of time, because you don't know how to gauge if the time you're spending is actually worth the investment or not. Defining relationships and getting men to give you an actual definition of not just necessarily what they want with you, but overall what they intend to do with the time that they're investing in you and with you in this relationship. It's not necessarily something where you have to say, hey, I'm only gonna date you or talk to you if you wanna date me, right? But I want you asking questions so you can get that definition. And what I also want you doing is, if you meet men who refuse to define for you exactly what direction they want to take this hangout, this relationship that you're building, this friendship that you're building, whatever you want to call it, the situationship, right? If you're with a man that doesn't want to define that, then you immediately remove yourself from that relationship, because that lack of definition is exactly what will get you played in the end. For our second way, I want you to learn how to prove nothing. I know it sounds very weird. Here's the mistake that will happen to you a lot of times when you really like a guy, you want the relationship to work out, and also just in general, you really want a relationship for yourself. You'll meet a guy And let's say for the sake of example, that guy, he likes blondes. And in the process of you kind of seeing this guy and seeing the type of girls he follows on Instagram, the type of girls he's dated in the past, you're like, damn, this guy really is into blondes, but I'm a brunette. I'm scared now that he's not going to like me because I don't look like the girls that he usually likes. So what do? I change my hair color from brunette to blonde because I want to prove to him that I'm the type of girl that he's looking for, but I also want him to like me, so I need to change aspects of myself so that I'm more likable to this guy. This is a grave mistake, and this will get you played all the time because men do not even appreciate you trying to change yourself for them. All they do is they see that as a weakness that they can take advantage of because of your need for validation, which we're going to discuss validation in a bit as well. And this becomes a really toxic cycle where every time you meet a guy, you're constantly scrambling to figure out, what do I need to change about how I talk, how I walk, how I act, how I speak in order for him to like me more. And as the goalpost changes or his reaction to you changes, you start to get so much anxiety, you start to feel so horrible about the situation, and then you constantly are frantically trying to change the next thing and change the next thing, and you don't have an identity. So the reason that I drew this like this is because before you meet men, okay? Notice I said before. Let me write this down here. Before, okay? You need to build your own identity of who you are, what's important to you, what your morals are, what your values are in a relationship for yourself as an individual as well. The reason that this is so important, you build this and build this before you meet the men, is because you need to take your defined identity. Once you define who you are, you take that identity with you into the relationship, okay? Because what you're supposed to be doing is, this is a horrible heart. What you're supposed to be doing is you're supposed to, after you define your own identity, when you go into your relationship and you're building with men, you then, based on your identity that you built already, ask yourself and observe through actions, are we compatible? Do we have alignment emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, all logistically, all the stuff, all the elements that make a good relationship? The only way for you to actually get that answer is if you have a first solid identity that you can then use to say, okay, based on my identity, what is his identity? And based on his identity, are we compatible, right? Because you have to have your identity in order to know if that identity is compatible with his, or I should say if his identity is compatible with yours. If you don't have a definition for who you are, you'll be very confused in this process. And then what you'll end up doing is you'll end up, instead of asking yourself, what is my identity and is his identity compatible to my identity and what's important to me, you'll go into this relationship, assuming you didn't do this part, right? You'll go into this relationship and you'll ask, what is his identity and how do I change my identity to be what's compatible with him? You'll be miserable. I promise you he still won't like you because he'll know you're changing your identity. And as things change in the relationship, you'll constantly be changing who you are, which will change his response to you. And it's just a snowball effect. That's very, very horrible. Way number 3, we're going to talk about the fact that time is money. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that saying before, but I want to explain it to you in this context so you know exactly what I mean. Money has value, right? When you go to the store, if you want to purchase something, you take out money, whether it be via your card or via cash, you pay for that item and you get that item in exchange for whatever money that item costs, right? Money has value. Time also has value. But a lot of times we're not trained or we don't grow up realizing that our time has value. The same way there's a finite amount of money in the world, which determines how much value that money has. That's economics. Okay, I don't want to make you start sweating. I just want you to understand the basics. Is the same way that your time is valuable because you have a finite amount of time in your life, right? Eventually, I'll put in parentheses, you are going to unalive. Okay, I don't even know if I could say that, right? Very sensitive these days, these platforms. Eventually, you are going to unalive, which means you only have a limited amount of time in your life to do whatever it is that you want to do. The same way, there's a limit to how much money is in the world, which is what determines its value. Now, the reason I say this is because now we understand there's a limit to both of these, which determine the fact that they're valuable and they both have value. Now, we have to ask ourselves, are we treating our time like it actually has real value? Or are we allowing it to pass us by wasting it on situations and on people who don't actually mean anything or won't actually end up anywhere. Let me give you an example of wasting time and how this will start to take advantage of you if you don't control it. For example, you start dating a guy, and in the process of you dating this guy, let's say for 2 years, you and him end up breaking up. After you break up, rather than spending the time and the energy on saying, okay, I need to recalibrate in life, I need to re-understand who I am, gather back my identity, I need to heal from the trauma that the relationship caused me and all the pain that I went through so that I can be a better person and a better partner to my future partner, right? That would be the right way to go about things. Let's say instead of doing that, you say, you know what, I don't really want to spend all this time learning about myself, going through pain, so I'd rather just hang out with a guy, any guy, preferably a guy who's not taking things too seriously, not taking life too seriously, and let me spend my time with him because one, it'll allow me to like not, put too much energy into, myself. It'll also distract me from the fact that I should be doing this and this to heal from the past relationship, but who cares about that? Like, I like this guy, he's fun, he's cool, we'll go out to the club a little bit, we'll dance a little bit, we'll have a little bit of sex, we'll vibe a little bit, everything will be coolly, and I won't worry too much. I'll be chilling. I'm chilling. We're vibing, as the kids say. Vibing can turn into a lot of wasted time. When you're wasting time, especially when you are making the choice to waste your own time, you're actually not allowing yourself to recognize the fact that your time has value. You're also not using your time as if it's valuable. You're not using your time as if it's finite, as if it's limited. The problem with this and how this will outsmart you if you don't outsmart it is you'll end up in situations that aren't going anywhere. You might even go into the situation knowing it's not going anywhere, right? Or be able to be honest with yourself and say, yeah, this probably isn't going anywhere. Have your girlfriends tell you this ain't going nowhere, but simply because you're lonely or simply because you want a distraction or simply because you just don't care enough about your time and the value of that time to actually do something about it, you continuously stay in these situations that are lukewarm, don't really have direction, don't really have a definition of where they're gonna go or what they are or what they're gonna be, and you just allow yourself to just float through life with no real intention. I promise you, you will be in a lot of emotional and spiritual pain if you allow your life to just pass you by. Because one way or another, the clock is ticking and the time is ticking on your life. If you choose not to treat it like it has value, it will pass by and you will receive nothing in return for your investment of time in people. I want you to start recalibrating your mind as it relates to time and the value of it. And be very, very meticulous, detailed, intentional, and angry if people are wasting your time. Because what it'll force you to do is it'll force you to be in a mental state where every time you're investing time, you're always asking yourself, what am I receiving back for this time? Which is a good question to ask yourself on a consistent basis. Anytime you're on a date, what am I receiving back for this investment of time? Is this going somewhere, right? If it's not, why am I here? Why am I spending my time on this? What are my overarching goals? If I go on a date and my overarching goal is to be in a happy, healthy relationship and eventually get married, when a guy goes on a date with me and he says he's not looking for anything serious or he just wants to chill or he's not sure what he wants right now, but I like his vibe, I like how he looks, and he's got a big D, right? Am I actually doing what I should be doing if I continue to spend my time with him knowing that my overarching goal is to be married and in a relationship? Or am I taking away time from my overarching goal for my life and myself by wasting that time with someone who isn't on track with where I want to be? Strategy. I know some of you hate the idea of dating with a strategy because when you think about dating, you think to yourself, oh, well, dating is about true love. And, love is about being natural, being genuine, just letting yourself fall deeply, and the person that loves you so much will catch you. Okay, that's great, okay? When you think like that, and you think about love and relationships like that, I want you to get that out in your fantasy books, okay? When you read your fantasy books, there we can believe that love is all about falling for someone and them catching you and all that good stuff, okay? When you read your novels and when you watch your movies and your TV shows, sure, we can live in that fantasy. I don't mind that, okay? Even some role play, let's live in that fantasy. But when we get into real life, okay, we're in the field. There's a reason you have been frustrated with the way your dating or romantic life has gone. That's why you're here, okay? There's some level of frustration. I want you to build a strategy for everything related to dating, because that's how you're actually going to be successful. We're not playing the lottery with your romantic life anymore. I refuse to, okay? And you don't even want to, which is why you're here. We're going to build a strategy for everything as it relates to dealing with men. Let me talk to you about this version of strategy though. This version of strategy is understanding that you have a book of you. Everything that you represent, who you are, what you're about, what's important to you, what you love, what you hate, what you like, your own KINKSs, right? Everything. There's a book of you. I want you to be more careful about what you share that's in this book, and be overall more strategic about what you share that's in this book. Here's the issue with this, and I'll explain this to you in detail here. This book has very, very valuable information in it. You need to treat this book like it has gold inside it. This book possesses gold. Gold in the sense it's information gold. Information, specifically gold on you and all the things that make you tick as a human being. You want to be careful because with this info, it is very powerful. Because whoever has this info is going to be able to persuade you, control you, and get you to do things based on what makes you tick. Remember, this is information gold. If this information falls into the wrong hands, much like a supervillain with, some crazy information that helps him be a supervillain, that person, specifically that man, will take advantage of the situation and subsequently take advantage of you by having that information. Okay? The reason I say this is because I don't want you to become a pessimist when you date, or to become a closed book, or not to be open and honest with people, or to start lying. That's not what I'm encouraging you to do. I just want you to be more strategic about what you share that's in this book, and understanding not everything is for everyone all the time. You might have, depending on your personality, especially if you're a people pleaser, you might have a habit of going on your dates or meeting someone, and then when you like them, you want to tell them everything about you. You want to be so honest and such an open book that there's no hidden secrets and they never have to discover anything because you just tell them right away, right? I'm not saying that's wrong. I just want you to understand in the process of doing that, sometimes you'll start to tell them things that help them take advantage of you. For example, right? You start going on your dates and you start saying, well, I just want to tell you that one of the things I want to avoid in my new relationship is I don't want to be with a man who doesn't see himself being with me long term and doesn't see himself in a long-term relationship because my ex played with me and he did this, and I would love for a man to prove to me that he wants to be long-term with me by buying me specifically a red dress that comes from Louis Vuitton, this specific dress, and if he were to buy this dress and he were to put it on my bed and surprise me and say, hey, we're gonna go for a dinner for sushi at this specific restaurant at 7 p.m., that would just make me fall in love. And then if I opened the door and he had red roses, specifically these red roses from this store, you might get into the habit of going in such grave detail of exactly what you need for a man to prove to you that he's serious or that he wants you. You don't realize as you're giving this information, like, oh, I'm just telling him how I feel, right? He's taking it in, he's saying, oh, interesting. If I do exactly what she just laid out there, she'll be of the belief that I'm her perfect man, like I'm everything that she's ever wanted. She'll actually think I'm her Prince Charming. So guys go, okay, I'm not gonna buy her the $300 Louis Vuitton dress, I'm not doing that. But then they'll think to themselves, what of what she just mentioned could I do to make her feel like I'm that guy? And he thinks to himself, okay, I could buy flowers. Flowers is like $20. Okay, yeah, I could take her to like a sushi spot. Maybe it won't be Nobu, but I'll take her something that's like the equivalent. And I know it sounds very horrible, but then you allow them, especially if they're a supervillain, meaning a guy who's meeting you without the intention of actually taking care of you or building with you, just a guy who's meeting you looking for how you're going to serve him, right? He's then gonna go on these dates with you and he's gonna start thinking to himself, so if I just do exactly what she just said she would want a guy to do, then she'll believe I'm the guy for her, which will make it a lot easier for me to get access to her, i.e. sleep with her, or whatever treatment, maybe he wants girlfriend treatment or whatever he's looking to extract from you. This is why I say this is actually information gold. And it's not that I want you to lie to men or I don't want you to talk to them about yourself or your life or be honest with them. It's just that I want you to understand, yes, as much as I'm honest with someone, I also want to be vague at certain points to allow myself to observe Do they even care about me? How do they want to treat me? How do they feel I should be treated? What is their natural disposition towards a relationship and towards someone that they're saying they take seriously? Without me giving him all the answers to the test, is he even attempting to try to prove to me that he wants me and prove to me that he wants to be with me and prove to me that he can be consistent in this relationship? Is there alignment between the ways that he likes to communicate his love and the way I like to receive love and vice versa? Without necessarily giving him all of this information gold that allows him to disguise himself as who I'm looking for, disguise himself as a guy who has the alignment that I want in my relationship and my love life. And then only after he gets access to me, after he sleeps with me, do I then realize that he now takes off this mask and shows who he really is. And I'm like, oh my God, I spent all this time with this guy who isn't really what I want. Way number 5, we want to be observant. Now, I'm gonna call you out for a second. I want you listening because I'm trying to help you when I call you out, okay? When you go on your dates, you might have this issue where if a guy knows how to talk to you the right way, it starts to do something to your mental state. It starts to do something to your heart where you forget that you're actually here to observe him and observe his actions. And you start feeling like, okay, well, the way he's talking to me is making me feel so good that I'm in a fantasy land. Let me give you an example of that, right? You go out on a date, and instead of you saying, okay, I'm on this date, and on this date, I want to ask questions and have conversations to uncover some information, some of that information gold that I told you to be aware of giving away too much of. You go on this date, right? And he's very good at making you feel very, very special. He's looking into your eyes. He's gazing at you. He's telling you how beautiful you are, how stunning you are. He's telling you how much he desires you. He's telling you how much he can't wait to be with you. In some cases, I'll be honest with you, they might even go as far as saying, I can't wait to marry you. I can't wait to have you have my baby. Oh my God, my kids would look so amazing if they were mixed with you. If my kids just had your eyes and your hair, oh my God, we'd have the most beautiful daughter. And when he's saying these things to you, it's putting you in a fantasy land because you're like, oh my God, you're telling me these things. Am I that amazing? Oh my God, am I that beautiful? Oh my, tell me again how much you want me. Are you hard under the table just thinking about being with me because I'm that amazing? This is a problem because this is actually a distraction away from what you're supposed to be doing, which is observing these types of things. What is his treatment of me? Do his actions align with how he said he wants to be treating me or what he said he would do in a relationship, right? Is there alignment between us in the relationship mentally, spiritually, emotionally? Are we moving in the right direction? How does he talk to me? How does he treat me? How does he act towards me when he's angry, when he's upset, when he's happy, when he's stressed out, right? All of these things that I want you to observe, I do not want you to be distracted by love bombing. Love bombing is something that men will use in their tool belt to get you distracted from observing his behavior. It'll also make it very easy for you to begin making excuses for that man because you're not thinking about the things that he's not doing, like the alignment, like the actions, like the treatment and all this other stuff. You're just thinking about how good he makes you feel. And sometimes that's not even in a sexual way. You're just thinking about how good he makes you feel in general. Because when he's around you and when he's telling you all these sweet things and telling you how amazing you are and telling you how much he wants to be with you, it makes you feel like you're really there, okay? And it makes you feel like, oh my God, like I've never felt this good around someone else. We have something real. You don't, but it feels like you have something real because of how good you feel because of what he's saying to you. Observe actions. And make sure to not allow yourself to live in a fantasy land where all you're doing on your dates and on your hangouts is making yourself feel good. Because that can become a habit where when you meet a guy that knows how to make you feel good about yourself, make you feel wanted and desired, that's all you think about. And that's all you remember when you think of him, right? And that's all you chase after is feeling good around him, getting him to compliment you a million times, getting him to tell you how beautiful you are, getting him to tell you how much you turn him on, right? All this other stuff that makes you feel good and validated for yourself. And then now all of a sudden you forget to actually do all of the work that is required of you in order to determine if he's really going to be a good partner to you. Not every guy that will play you is necessarily going to play you in a way where he's like, oh, you're trash. I just want to treat you like an SLUT and I just want to sleep with you and then leave you, right? Not every guy is going to be that malicious. Every guy is going to be that mean. Some guys will actually make you feel the best while also playing you because they don't have direction for you, because they don't have intention in this relationship, because they're, playing pretend a little bit, like some of the things that we basically discussed earlier, right? And it's not always going to come across as malicious, but they're still wasting your time, and your time is still valuable. So you and this guy that you're talking to are located in New York City. That's where you met. That's where you guys are from. That's where you were born and raised. Now, you guys start dating each other, or let's just say seeing each other, so we can make it a little bit less serious. In the process of you guys seeing each other, you guys are having a conversation just about the things that you want, the things that are important to you, basic stuff like that. And he tells you, yeah, so right now I'm kind of working odd jobs because, I'm just trying to figure out, where I want to go. Really, my heart, deep down in my heart, I want to be an actor. I want to act because I see myself in Hollywood. I see myself the bright lights. I see myself the star on the sidewalk thing with my name on it. I see myself on billboards. I see myself in American jeans ads, okay? What about them jeans, okay? Just like Sydney Sweeney. I see myself a star. But for now, I'm kind of working, messing up, right? All these flashing lights. For now, I kind of see myself, I'm just working these odd jobs to kind of figure out how I'm going to get to that point. I haven't really figured that out yet. I'm kind of going to an audition here and an audition there, seeing what sticks. But, I haven't really figured that part out. I'm just kind of working on it. So the odd jobs are just kind of holding me for the time being. But I also, as I want to be an actor, maybe I'll do some music videos too. But I also, I like being behind the camera. Maybe I'll try being a director as well. But it's somewhere, music, movies, things like that. Let me tell you why this is very bad. And this is something that will actually play you. Logistics is one of the most important parts of a relationship. But if you don't have a conversation about logistics and have a realistic conversation with yourself about what logistics work and what doesn't, you will end up playing yourself. Because what will happen in the example that I just gave is you'll say, you know what? Hey, I'm all for it. I want to stick by you. I want to be your ride or die. I want to be here for you. I want to be by your side. I want to help you see through this dream, okay? There's nothing wrong with wanting to, be by someone's side while they're building. But here's the issue with that. What he just said is where I see myself in the near future or in my ideal career path is not here. What he just said is if I get my way and I'm able to make this life work, I'm not going to be living in New York anymore. I'm going to be all the way across the country in, why did I draw the arrow like that? In LA, okay? See, that might not seem like a big deal at first. Let's say, hypothetically, that actually happens, or he actually does get an opportunity, right? And he starts moving to LA to do these things. Now, all of a sudden, you are with a man who lives on the other side of the country. And let's say, for the sake of example, all your friends, family, cousins, all your network is all in New York. So you really don't have any business in LA. You've never had any intention of moving to LA. You've never had any desire to live in LA. Maybe you just don't even like the whole state of California, right? And so there's an issue now. You're now in a relationship with someone who logistically, a relationship is probably not going to work. Or if it does work, it's going to be very, very difficult. Because the place that his life is taking him is in a completely different direction than the place that you anticipate your life is taking you. Why do I say all of that? When you meet men, you need to have logistical conversations with them. Do not let yourself just live in a fantasy. Even when you like a guy and he likes you, and you guys are like, yes, we want to make this work. Have logistical conversations about, okay, we want to make this work, but what do you really want for your life? Where do you really want to be? And how do you really want to be living? And then you also have to ask yourself, what do I really want for my life? Where do I really want to be? How do I really want to be living? And you have to then, in the process of you both giving your answers, you have to say to yourself, are we even moving in the same direction? This is one of the hardest conversations to have. And this is why I really want you paying attention to this point, because this conversation isn't even about, does he like me or does he not like me? It's not even about, do we want to make this work? Because you can find yourself in a situation where both of you want to make this work and both of you like each other. You can even find yourself in a situation where the guy is intentional with you and he's doing all the things that we talk about doing in the relationship. And you're like, oh my God, I found my guy. But this element of the relationship will still get you played even if it's not him playing you. Because as you guys are growing in your life, right? You'll just end up growing apart. Because what you have to understand is, let's say we're supporting each other to help each other achieve our goals. If me supporting you and helping you achieve your goals means that success will take you away from me and help you grow in a different direction than me, and the same for me, well, then we're helping each other literally break up, if that makes any sense. We have to know that as we're helping each other grow as individuals, that our growth is bringing us closer together. Our growth is helping us be in a stronger relationship and have a stronger bond. If your growth is taking you across the country or to a different part of the world, well, then we have to have an honest conversation with ourselves that we're not in alignment logistically. Maybe we're in alignment mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that we want to be together and we want to make it work, but I can't see myself moving across the country. I don't have a network there, right? Like, let's say I'm talking as if I'm you, right? I don't have a network in LA. I don't see myself moving to LA. I don't have any business there. So when you're growing your life and you become successful and you end up in LA, and I'm still here, what becomes of our relationship? Because I don't envision myself marrying someone that is long distance with me forever. So either that's going to mean that you're going to have to change your version of success, which I would never, ever in a million years tell you to have a man change his version of success so that he can be closer to you, because he'll be miserable and he'll blame you for it. Or what would have to happen in that scenario is you would have to completely change everything that you wanted for yourself logistically to be in the place that he is. But then when you're dropped down, let's say you move all your life to LA, now it's really difficult because you've just created a scenario in which he has now become essentially your sole source of happiness, which I also don't like, and which can also put you in a very bad mental state. What I mean by you've now made that man your sole source of happiness is, let's say he's moved to LA for his own goals, his own dreams, and he also has a network there. But you have no network there, you have no goals there, no dreams, no aspirations of being there. Now you're in LA and the only thing that you have is the man that you're with. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing for your man to bring you happiness, but when he's your only source of happiness, now you are relying on him and relying on this relationship going well for you to have any happiness in your life at all. You have no mom to hang out with. You have no family to hang out with. You have no friends to see. You know nobody. Even the job you work might not be the job you want to work because you're working an odd job because you moved across the country, so you just have to look for something. Your whole life is in disarray, and the only thing that you can find happiness in is that guy. But that guy is chasing his dreams. And what happens if that guy doesn't want to be with you anymore, or he takes his attention away from you? Now all of a sudden your happiness is nowhere to be found. Number 7, boundaries. But we're not going to discuss boundaries in the way that you think that I'm going to discuss boundaries with you. I'm not talking about boundaries as it relates to, hey, tell this guy, swiper, no swiping. You can't do that. Hey, this is my boundary. You can't cross that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the even more important boundary. Learning and understanding how to set boundaries for yourself. This will be one of the most important things you ever do as it relates to dating. Why? Because when you go out on your dates, if you don't go in with your set boundaries of what you will do, what you can do, and what you can't do, you will play yourself. Not him. You will play yourself. Let me explain to you how in an example. Let's say you're like, hey, okay, I'm going to go on this date, but you know what? If I like the guy and I'm vibing with the guy, I just want to feel him out. If I like him, I'll stay a little bit longer. I'll enjoy myself. We'll have a couple of drinks. It is what it is. I'll see where the night goes. Did you hear what I just said? If I like the vibe, I'll see where the night goes with this guy. What are you doing? You're setting no boundary for yourself. You're telling yourself, I'm not going to be in control of this situation. I'm going to allow the vibe to control this situation. The vibe in this case is an external force. What I mean by external force is you're not necessarily in control of the vibe. You might go out on this date and you might be vibing. There might be lights all over the place. Maybe they're playing your favorite music. They're playing R&B. They're playing Kalani. They're playing Folded, that brand new Kalani song that has you in a chokehold. You're like, oh my God, you have your clothes folded. You're vibing, okay? You got wine in your hand, that favorite Pinot Grigio of yours, you're vibing, okay? Everything is good. The food is amazing. The vibes are extravagant. But here's the problem now. You've put the vibe in control of your decisions. This is actually an issue. Now when you're vibing and you're taking these drinks and you're looking at the clock and you're like, damn, it's over 2 hours I've been here, but I'm vibing, twin, I'm vibing. And he's like, are you having a good time? You're like, I'm having a great time. So 2.5 hours turns into 3 hours. Now you're super vibing. They're about to kick you guys out of the restaurant because it's about to close. He says, yo, girl, I won't lie to you, twin. I'm vibing. You vibing? Now you off that wine, right? So now you're like, oh, I'm vibing. He's like, yo, we got to go back to my place. We can't let the night end here. You like, yeah, let's go back to your place. Because you're not in control of the boundary. You've allowed the vibe to control what actions that you take. So now the vibe has just determined you go back to his place. Now when you're at his place, more of the same. You're allowing the vibe to control, okay, so I'm vibing right now, let's drink some more, let's have some more wine. Okay, well, I'm drunk right now and I'm feeling real tipsy and it's getting real late, so the vibe is gonna determine the fact that I'll probably just stay here because I don't got work tomorrow, you don't got work tomorrow, we chilling, we vibing, everything's a vibe. You got clothes for me too? Oh, that's a vibe, yeah. We sleep in the same bed, we have a little sleepover, we have a more chat, it's a vibe. Then he inserts himself inside of you because of the vibe. Now you slept with that man on the first night because of the vibe. Now the vibe has just determined that you look like you have no self-respect. Do you see why I say the biggest boundary that you'll set in your life is not even the boundaries that you'll set with other people, it's the boundaries you'll set for yourself. You have to go on your dates from the very beginning, right? Anytime you're meeting a man, what am I allowing myself to do? And what am I saying I will not do? I'm not saying don't have fun. I will not say don't have fun. I'm not the no fun guy, okay? I want you to have fun, but you have fun within these boundaries. Everything that's within these boundaries, right? And this is a conversation you have with yourself before you go on that date. Everything that's within these boundaries, you enjoy yourself. Hey, we go on a date. Hey, within that 2-hour date, we'll drink wine. We could drink Casamigos if we want. If we want to smoke, we'll smoke. If we want whatever we want to do, we'll go out here. We'll do this. We'll do that. All of the fun that I can have within this boundary here, I'll do it. I'll have fun. I'll let myself enjoy myself. But outside of this boundary, I will not do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care how good it is. I don't care how good it feels. I don't care how good it'll make me feel. I don't care when the last time I had sex is. I don't care if I haven't used my rose tonight. I don't care if, I haven't had a climax in a long time. I don't care if I haven't had a man's hands on my body in such a long time that I just think about it and I'm soaking. I don't care what the situation is. I will not go past these certain boundaries, which, for example, would be something like saying my date is going to last 2 hours no matter what. Whether I have a great time, whether if I have a horrible time, maybe I'll leave earlier. But even if I have the best time of my life, I meet the guy of my dreams and I know for sure he's my husband tonight, the date will still only last a maximum of 2 hours, no matter what, okay? Setting that boundary with yourself makes your decision-making a lot easier because your decision-making is not based on an external force. Your decision-making is based on an internal force, which is you setting this expectation and standard for yourself before you meet the guy. That way, no matter what you come across on the date, you still say to yourself, my boundary before I met this guy was that the date would only last 2 hours and I wasn't going to go back to his place. So now that I'm on this date and we're having a great time and everything is all fun and I'm feeling good, it's about an hour and 45 minutes. So I have 15 minutes to go. And when that 15 minutes is up, I will excuse myself and I'll let him know that I got to go home. Simple as that. And I will go home. For way number 8, we're going to discuss explaining. Now, this is the way that I specifically want to discuss explaining to you. Sometimes, well, let me even start off by saying, I'm not even talking about explaining because I know some of you have heard me talk about over-explaining before. I'm not even talking about over-explaining as it relates to over-communicating your feelings, okay? What I'm describing when I'm talking about explaining and over-explaining, when you are a recovering people-pleaser addict, okay? Or a pick-me-sha, as Shira7 would say, okay? You can get into the habit of feeling like, I need to let this guy know everything about me, everything about my life, where I'm at, when I'm going there, who I'm with, how I got there, what it is that I'm going to, the time that I'm going to be back, the time that it's going to take me, and exactly what my whereabouts are at every step of the way, okay? This is something that, sure, you might do it with your husband. You might even do it with someone who you've been dating for a long time that maybe you live with at the same time, even though I wouldn't advise that. But this is a problem that can happen when you like a guy, and your fear is if I don't let him know everything about me, if I don't constantly explain things to him about my life and what I'm doing and where I'm at and all this other stuff, then he might get anxiety, and his anxiety might make him either not like me anymore, or it might put him in a place where, because he's anxious, he starts to get upset with me. I don't want him to be upset with me. If you're a people pleaser, someone being upset with you is like the worst thing that could ever happen to you. And you're so deathly scared of someone being upset with you or you causing someone anxiety. So you always try to over-explain what your whereabouts are and what you're doing with your life to try and ease his anxiety so that he never is anxious or he's never thinking, hey, what is she doing and why is she doing it or why is she not talking to me? Let me tell you why this ends up getting you played. This exacerbates, which means just exaggerates the issue of feeling like, oh my God, I need to prove something to this guy. I need to make sure that he's never upset with me. I need to be a people pleaser and make sure he's always good and never confused about anything that I'm doing. It also takes away a very important element that guys need in order to build their feelings for you, which is they need to be able to miss you, okay? They also need to be able to desire you. Even though you're thinking to yourself you're doing him a solid by not giving him anxiety, you're actually not doing him a solid, because as a natural human being, a grown adult, an individual, when you meet a guy and you begin dating him, you should have your own life. You should have your own things going on. You should have things going on in your life that don't relate to him that you don't necessarily tell him everything about. Because when you meet someone and you're two individuals, your lives don't just converge into being one life now. It's okay to have things to do that he doesn't necessarily know about that maybe you tell him afterwards. It's okay to not be on your phone and he doesn't necessarily know exactly what you're doing at this time. Doesn't mean that you have to be doing anything nefarious. Doesn't mean that you have to be doing anything inappropriate. It just means that you have a life. I want you to get into the habit of understanding the process of allowing a guy to go through his own little bits of anxiety of, hey, I loved seeing her. I love hanging out with her. What is she doing today? Where is she at today? What is she up to today? Let him desire you. Let him even have the space to at least inquire about what you're doing, where you're at, who you're with, how you're spending your time. Let him, as a man, grow his feelings for you by having desire and then acting on his desire. That's how men get to the chance to grow their feelings. If you never allow a man to desire you and you never allow him to act on his desire, he'll never even be able to look himself in the mirror and recognize how much he likes you based on how much desire he's having for you and how much he's acting on that desire. Because when I look myself in the mirror, I'm talking about, hypothetically, I'm not talking about actually looking himself in the mirror. But when I look at myself in the mirror and I think to myself, damn, I be thinking about her a lot. She's always on my mind. I can't get this girl off my mind. I always want to see her. I always want to hang out with her. That's reinforcement that my feelings for that woman are real, and they're clearly stronger than my feelings for other people because I think about her more than other people. And I also act on my desire of her more than I do for other people. Men need to go through that process. Don't take and steal that process away from them by being an over-explainer. Let men miss you. Let them wonder about you. Let them inquire about you and what you're doing. This is painful for people pleasers. It's also painful for people who don't want to come to a reality, which is that maybe when you stop over-explaining, when you stop trying to create conversation by letting him know everything that you're doing, you'll realize he'll never inquire. Number 9, we're going to discuss validation. Specifically, we're going to discuss your relationship with validation. Remember how I said you build your identity before you meet a man so that you use that identity to determine if you and that guy are in alignment. You do validation the same way. Some of you, and this is an honest conversation you have to have with yourself, have a very toxic relationship with validation. For some of us, it's not even our fault. Maybe we didn't grow up with a dad. Maybe our dad abandoned us. Maybe our parents overall abandoned us. Maybe we never had an authoritative figure in our life. Whatever the trauma or the root of the issue is, which is the reason that you have a bad relationship with validation, we need to be honest with ourselves about this root issue and the fact that it's created a toxic relationship with validation, and then we need to address it. Because what will happen, especially for you as a woman, is if you don't have a good relationship with validation, if your relationship with validation is very toxic, meaning that you do very strange things for validation, you will end up in a very bad place relationship-wise, but also mentally and spiritually. Because you'll put yourself in harm's way mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, just for the sake of receiving validation from a man. That is a very bad place to be mentally, okay? You'll, compromise on your morals, your values. You'll do things that you never in a million years would do. You'll act ways that you never in a million years thought you would act. You might do things for validation, and you might look back on your own actions and say to yourself, what the hell was I thinking when I did that? What the hell was I thinking when I allowed him to do that to me? All in the seek of validation. Because if you don't have a good relationship with this, if you don't understand how to validate yourself, you will need external validation in order to feel good about yourself. Let me give you an example of some of the things that you might do when you're having a toxic relationship with validation. You might say to yourself, well, I'm a respectable woman. I have self-respect. I would never allow a guy to just, sleep with them on the first night and then, he's not actually taking me serious or anything like that. But let's say you end up talking to a guy that you really like. He's your type. He's your type looks wise. He's got lots of money. He's really tall. He's 6'5", he's 6'6". He plays in the NBA. He's got a lot of clout. He's got a lot of resources. He can take you on vacations. And now all of a sudden, right, because you say to yourself, oh, I really want that guy's validation though. Maybe not the other guys, I'm good because they're not that great, but I would love to have his validation. But I also know that he's got not enough time. He's also got a lot of girls on his line, and he's probably never going to ask me out on a date, but I really want his validation. So when he calls you up the night of and he says, hey, I'm in your city tonight. Can you, pop out? I'm about to go here. I'm about to go there. Can I pull up to your crib afterwards? And then you say, sure. Yeah, you can pull up. Because you would rather have at least some of his validation, even in the form of him just giving you attention for a few hours while he sleeps with you, rather than getting none of his validation, because your relationship with validation is that toxic. Okay? So in order to address this, you have to sit down with yourself and understand where this stems from, your toxic relationship with validation. And then you have to practice the art of understanding how to validate yourself. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, so I don't want to spend hours on that, but you need to get good at creating habits that will help you validate yourself. Validate who you are, validate what's important to you, validate your own beauty, validate how you look, validate how you act, validate your identity, validate yourself. Get good at that to the point where nobody can tell you who you are. You know who you are. You know what you stand for, and you're confident in that. To the point where people can say what they want about you and it just rolls off your back. Of course, we're all human beings, so sometimes things will upset us, but understanding who you are to the point where nobody can shake you off of that. Also, to the point where you don't end up chasing people's validation in order to feel like a whole person. For point number 10, we're going to discuss time. But specifically, we're going to discuss how time is actually your friend as a woman. When you start off dating a guy, that is when you have what I describe as the most leverage. Because what should be happening is he approached you because he wants to get to know you. He thinks you're interesting. That's fine. At that time, you have given him no access to you. Over the course of time, he will get more access to you, and subsequently he will have more leverage in this relationship because now he's had access to you, so he can walk away after receiving that access to you, or he can continue investing in you in this relationship. But when you have the most leverage at the beginning, you need to understand time is your best friend at that point. Why is time your best friend? When men, let's just say hypothetically, a guy is coming into your life, he doesn't really intend to date you seriously for real, but maybe he's on Hinge, he's on Bumble, he's on Tinder, because he just wants to see who's a vibe, who he can have a good time with, who he can possibly sleep with. But he knows that if he tells you that, he's not gonna have a good chance of sleeping with you or getting access to you at all. So what does he do? He pretends. He's acting. Let me show you this graph to help you understand why time is your friend. In the beginning, his acting skills are going to be immaculate. He's going to be Johnny Depp. He's going to be, who's the new one that everyone loves? He's not Leonardo. He's like this era's Leonardo DiCaprio. Timothée Chalamet, okay? His acting skills are on point at the beginning. He's able to convince you that he is who you're looking for. But as time goes on, his acting skills will diminish. And at a certain point, depending on how good or bad his acting skills are, or how frustrated he becomes, he'll become so frustrated that his acting skills have not yielded him any result, specifically the result of being able to access you fully, sleep with you, get girlfriend treatment from you, that he'll end up saying to himself, this is pointless. I'm acting, I'm doing my best acting job, I'm Timothée Chalamet, I'm Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm Johnny Depp. but it still isn't working for me to get access to this woman. She's still not breaking. She's still not folding. And at a certain point, if my goal and my intention is just to extract from you, specifically, let's just say hypothetically, specifically attract us, I had a brain fart, specifically take sex from you, okay? Or extract sex from you was the word I was looking for, right? If that was my original intention the entire time while I was acting, then at a certain point, my frustration acting and not receiving what I'm trying to receive from you or extract from you is going to become frustrating, and I'm going to say, I'm done doing this. Or even if I'm continuing to try to act, eventually I'm going to begin cracking as time goes on, because you're going to start seeing my real personality, right? The personality will show over time, because at a certain point, you're going to start realizing that my frustration is going to bleed through my acting. So when I'm pretending to be the guy you want, I'm going to start saying things like, damn, I don't know if I could be in a relationship. I don't sleep with that person. Damn, still you holding out, huh? That's crazy. I don't know. I might have to rethink this, right? And you might start hearing him talk differently or act differently than the type of guy you met at the beginning as time goes on. Now, I want you to listen very closely. I'm not saying this to say, okay, do a 90-day, challenge where, you don't sleep with him for 90 days and then after the 90 days you sleep with. No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is when you get into your dates, have in your mind, time is your friend. Be patient. Relax yourself. Don't be over anxious to hop into the next thing and go to the next stage and go to the next stage. When you have the most leverage, that's when I want you to be the most patient, because you have nothing to lose. When a guy approaches you and he asks you to date you because he wants to get to know you, that's all on him to make this work. You don't need to give him anything. You don't need to offer him anything. You don't need to do anything for him. You can let him continue to pursue you, and you can use time to determine, are you acting here or are you actually serious here? Because if you're actually serious here, you won't become easily frustrated just because a week has gone by, we haven't had sex yet. If you're getting frustrated a week into us, talking to each other, and just because we haven't had sex, then clearly you're acting. Because if you're really serious about this, you're not going to be bothered by a little rinky-dink week or a month or so of us seeing each other talking and not having sex, unless we're not on the same page.